So the Afghanistan situation is already a big kerfluffle, but I think it's going to turn out to be, after all is said and done, a completely unmitigated disaster. And what I mean by unmitigated is that nobody in the chain of command will make a serious attempt at mitigating it, you know? Excuse me, I think I thought for a minute I was using voice and I entered in a comma, but it's obvious right now, first of all, that there's no leadership at the top of the chain of command. I see the whole situation as a failure of the system from top to bottom, from Biden all the way down to the mid-level brass. And I don't see any of that brass, from the division level or even brigade level on up, taking the risk of disobeying orders and taking the matter into their own hands. Because if anything, the military brass, it used to be not as bad at the lower levels of the brass, but now I'm hearing that from all the way from butter bar on up, they come out of OCS and their mindset is that of a politician. And politicians obviously shy away from risk. I would like to see a badass general somewhere come out and say, I don't give a fuck what Biden says, I'm sending my division in right now and I'm going to get the Americans out. But the problem is it's too risky, even though it would be a good opportunity for an officer, a general, to get a name for themselves and to get their name out there. Could be very politically rewarding, but I don't think that, given the situation right now, as far as the general feeling I'm getting, I don't see any officer doing that. But it will be an unmitigated disaster. The administration seems to be, according to some reports from inside the White House, they seem to be of the opinion that they can just wait for the news cycle to change to go back to COVID. The issue with that is that COVID was not, and this I don't take credit for this idea. I watch so many different podcasters, but one of them is Robert Grueller. I like him a lot. He's a defense attorney from Arizona, does a lot of good work, and he made the point that the media will not, even though probably a lot of people in the media would rather not report on Afghanistan because it's politically damaging to their allies, they're going to be forced to, because the ratings are just going to be too good. And I think the Biden administration is of the impression, because the media works so closely with the Democrat Party, that the media won't report on it if they request them not to. And the other part of it is that the media is more loyal to the military-industrial complex than to the Democratic Party. And obviously, we're going to see a push for the United States to re-enter the conflict, using this as a premise to do so. So I think that's another component of this, is that the weapons manufacturers, defense contractors, and banks and other cronies that want to see this gravy train of a war continue forever, they're probably having a lot of influence in the media, and I think that's definitely happening behind the scenes. There's going to be a push from the media to send troops back to Afghanistan and keep them there permanently, if only in the airport, if nowhere else. Or maybe to use this incident in the future to push for more counterinsurgency wars or to keep us in certain places. Oh, we can't leave Syria completely because look what happened in Afghanistan, right? So that's a component of it. Now, here's the thing about it. A lot of people are saying, you know, there's this whole premise going around amongst people on the internet, most of whom have no idea what they're talking about, that it is possible to win a counterinsurgency conflict. So that's a debate I'm seeing out there. Some people are saying, well, we've never won a counterinsurgency conflict, so what was our point for being there? Obviously, the point was to funnel money from the taxpayer to various cronies. But some people, probably a lot of them are in the pockets of the cronies on Twitter, are saying, well, wait, we did win a counterinsurgency conflict. Look at Germany and Japan. We stationed troops there, and we managed to keep them suppressed. People who say that know absolutely nothing about what happened in World War II. It's really kind of sad. Okay, so we got to look at both of these countries. We can group them together. Japan had been fighting a war since 1933. So fast forward to 1945 when we finally occupied both countries. Japan started fighting their wars in 1933. Germany essentially started fighting their wars in 1939. Both countries had suffered immensely. The population was exhausted. In Germany, they barely had enough men to fight anymore. You know, towards the end of the war, they were drafting women, children, old men. They were called Volksgrenadiers, or Volksgrenadiers was one type of outfit that was composed of old men, women, and children. They would run around with rocket launchers. Some of them were actually surprisingly effective on a sporadic basis. But anyway, same thing happened with the Japanese. They had little manpower left. Both countries had been suffering from blockades that had been going on for years. Their populations were starving. Okay? Also, let's not forget that for a couple years before the end of the war, World War II, we literally carpet bombed both countries and we nuked Japan. Okay? So, first of all, those weren't counterinsurgency conflicts. Those were set piece traditional wars, total wars. As Clausewitz would say, we destroyed the enemy's will to fight. That's how you win a war. And the people in the Department of Defense, people in the military, they know that. They understand that. They went into Afghanistan saying that they can win a counterinsurgency war in which they neither disarmed the enemy nor destroyed the enemy's will to fight. And I think the Taliban knew exactly what was going on. And all they had to do was sit back and wait. And that's exactly what they did for the last couple of years. Okay? So, moral of the story is, the powers that be knew from the beginning. Okay? Well, in the beginning, the war was supposedly to get Osama bin Laden. Many people think that they let Osama bin Laden go in order to extend the war. I don't really have an opinion on that. It's possible that Osama bin Laden did in fact get away. And once it got into Pakistan, he was being protected by the Pakistani intelligence services. That's a whole different discussion for a different day right there. But then they said, oh, we're going to make, after that, they started changing the objectives of the war, and they were saying, oh, well, we're going to destroy the Taliban, and we're going to make Afghanistan into a Western-style democracy, and we're going to give them freedom, and women's rights, LGBT rights. Come on now. Anybody who believes that nonsense, I don't know what to say about people that believe that nonsense. We're going to go into Afghanistan and force the people there to accept LGBTQI, whatever the fuck, rights. By the way, I am part of the LGBTQ whatever fuck community. I used to be anyways, but now it's a cult. I want no part of it. So fuck your LGBTQ cult, by the way. But these people knew, these people being the protagonist, the people who were pushing for war, knew from the beginning that it would be a waste. But it wasn't really a waste. As I said in another video, it was all about taking your grandchildren's money and sending it to the various cronies at the opposite end of, on the receiving end of that money, under the premise that they were fighting a war. So anyway, there was drug trafficking involved too, with opium, because, you know, the CIA was involved. With the CIA, there's always drug trafficking. It's a great way to raise money. So, the bottom line is that don't be fooled that they being the government and the people within the government that were pushing for the war, don't be fooled that they actually thought they could win this conflict in the first place. They knew better. And as long as Americans keep being retarded idiots and allow the government to, manipulate them, they're going to keep on doing it. And I say, then the American deserves, I am an American, us Americans deserve everything we get. We're going to get, because, ignorance is no excuse. Okay, so have a nice day.